those are the best kind.
No broken pipes,
No,
no freezing down there.
That's
I'm glad you're not coming in from the East
and
Coast.
that's absolutely the way you want it to be.
Yes.
You had a good break.
We did. We
What time you get here?
Getting everybody out last Wednesday.
Mics are live. Microphones are on.
So she was a reporting last week.
It's always a good thing to know. I've had a lavalier mic on before that I didn't know was on at the wrong time.
Cameras here today.
Yeah.
Most brothers I am getting this school.
Three kids
I believe it.
that because they came in. Almost three kids
Good morning.
Now one of them came back. We were great. I guess when I was in high school football, more focus.
Pretty close, huh? She tells me when it's 10 o'clock.
When you're legal.
Okay. It is now 10 o'clock a.m. Call the meeting to order of the Dissolution Committee for the former Board of the Dallas County Schools Trustees. We have a quorum present. It is 10 a.m. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attendance. Members, thank you for your attendance as well. Appreciate your being here. And we have a third item on the agenda is the oath of office for district appointees. We don't have any oaths to administer today that I'm told, so we'll proceed to action items. Action item 4A is consider approval of minutes for the meeting that was held December 18th, 2017.
So moved.
Motion made by Dr. Hinojosa. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Buchanan to approve the minutes. Any other thoughts, additions, subtractions? Don't hear any comments. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The minutes are approved from our last meeting. Action item 4B is consider the sale of firearms. A lot of things that I thought we might have, but firearms was not one of them that I have to worry about. But Mr. King, would you update us and tell us about the recommendation?
Yes, sir. We have 27 9mm pistols that we paid $340 for. We have an authorized firearm license dealer who will buy them from us for $245 a unit for a total of $6,600. And we believe we ought to accept this proposal so we can legally sell these licenses to someone, sell these firearms to someone that could sell them again.
Questions? Comments? I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
We'll go ahead and authorize the disposition of these firearms.
Motion made by Mr. Dransfield to approve the sale of firearms.
Second.
Second from Dr. Parra. Any other discussion or questions for Mr. King?
I have a quick question.
Okay.
Do we have a complete inventory of these type of items?
We're working on a complete inventory of everything we have in the district. So the firearms, yes. The rest of the items in the district, no.
Okay, but for firearms, so this would be the only sale of firearms?
Yes, ma'am. To my knowledge, is that correct, Chief Lindsay?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I don't hear any, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, would you signify by saying aye? Opposed? Same sign. I don't hear any. That motion is approved unanimously. Action item 4C is consider the cancellation of the school resource officer interlocal agreements. Mr. King?
So we legally cannot operate a police department. So what we need to do is we need to release our obligation with these SRO programs. We have it at 3 locations. We've been working with those locations. They know what's going on. And we're requesting your authorization to advise these organizations that we're no longer going to service them effective January 31 of this month.
Who are the organizations?
Duncanville, Carrollton, and Teague.
Okay. Questions? I think we're probably in a pretty straightforward business here, as you can tell, that things that we're not authorized to do doesn't make a lot of sense to continue. If there are not any questions, I'll accept a motion.
I move that we cancel the interlocal agreements with Carrollton, Duncanville, and Teague.
Ms. Spencer has made the motion to approve the recommendation. Second came from Mr. City. Thank you very much. Any other comments? Yes, sir. Dr.
Chairman
Burns.
Moses, since we're involved in this, I'll just recuse myself, since we're
Okay.
directly impacted by it.
Okay, but you've been in the discussions, know all about
Yes,
it, I
yes,
assume?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Can I just ask
Mr.
one question?
Spencer.
on-
Yes, sir.
Is there any notice requirement, Alan, or by talking to them, I assume that whatever there is, they've either agreed that this is going to take place at the end of the month, or we don't have to give a 30-day notice or anything like that, or do we? I mean, it's kind of...
Amanda, do you know the answer to that question, Chief Lindsay?
I talked to Amanda about that because Dallas County Schools no longer actually exist. Amanda and I talked about it. We didn't have a notice timeline. We do need to notify the district. We've been talking to them ever since the vote came forward and got the plans worked out. So they've all been worked out. So all the districts know, just like Carrollton Farmers Branch knows they've already got a plan put together what to do with their officers. So we've been working with them the last 60 days or so to get all those officers transitioned.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other questions? I know we want to give everyone as much notice as possible, and I hope Dr. Burns and others that we've been working with you, and that sounds like we have been. So obviously we want to be mindful of that. All those in favor of the motion, would you signify by saying aye? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hear none, that motion passes unanimously. Action item 4D is consider the cancellation of the 2016-2017 audit agreement with McConnell and Jones LLP. Mr. King.
McConnell and Jones was engaged to audit our records for year ending June 30, 2017. They were engaged on November the 7th. To date, they've done very little work. We do not see how this meets the organization purpose of safe and reliable transportation for our component districts. So we're proposing to cancel the engagement, and we'll prepare a unaudited comprehensive annual financial for your review at some point in the future. And we'd recommend cancellation of this engagement at a cost of $85,000.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, yes, sir. Dr. Hinojosa.
I just want to make sure that no one at the state agency has intimated that there needed to be a final audit prepared of the records, or you've gotten any direction from either the comptroller's office or TEA that there needs to be a final audit of this entity when it expires?
I have had zero contact with the, I was telling our vice chair with the state agency or with the comptroller's office or with the attorney general's office. So
Thank you.
I don't, even in light of some of the things that have happened in the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've had no contact. So, but I don't know, Mr. King, I assume that's the same true for you.
Nobody's contacted me, and actually, the district has not submitted an audit report to the agency in years, so,
Yeah.
if ever.
David Thompson, you want to comment on this?
And Mr. Chair and members, under this dissolution statute and the transition statute, the Texas Education Agency is charged to advise and assist as needed. And we've had periodic conversations with General Counsel and others at TEA We will confirm with them, but as has previously been stated, I don't know that your audit has been filed the way a school district's audit would have been filed with TEA, but because they have that responsibility by statute, we will confirm that they're not expecting. And of course, Mr. King, just for the audience sake, we need to clarify the typical outside audit for an ongoing entity samples different transactions, and you may very well need specific examinations of specific programs as the committee goes through this process, but this is simply the normal routine external audit for an ongoing entity.
Well, first of all,
But there may
yeah.
be other audit
Yeah.
needs as you go through the wind down process.
Thanks for clarifying that you have had some communication with the agency. I appreciate that. I think if the question would be, if the agency asks for additional programmatic audits, then we can come back and authorize those.
Right.
Correct?
Correct.
But I think in this case, what the recommendation is trying to do is to save $85,000 for obvious reasons. We're trying to save every dime that we can. So with that, to the members, we could come back if the agency asks us to and request specific programmatic audits, then we could authorize those. Today, we're simply saying we don't need an $85,000 comprehensive audit. Other questions?
I would also add that it probably wouldn't be completed until, April. So it
Right.
would be almost gone by the time that would be completed.
Right. Mr. Cransfield.
Mr. Chairman, or Mr. King, has any money been spent or any services been rendered yet under the contract? One. And secondly, there's also a time period of notice for this termination as well. So I want to make sure we're on the same page with that, and I would instruct them, if we haven't already, to kind of cease and desist doing any work.
We have instructed them to cease and desist, and to date, they've estimated a cost of around $5,000.
Thank you.
And we have done what with that? We basically put that in line.
That, we put that in line with other creditors.
Okay. Okay.
And we'll give them notice or formal notice if we haven't already in terms of termination after today.
Yes, sir.
Great. Thank you.
Other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. King, you might know this one. So how long has McConnell and Jones, how many years have they been conducting audits for DCS?
This would be their first year.
First
Yes,
year.
sir.
Thank you.
Others?
Move approval.
We have a motion by Dr. Hinojosa to move approval of the recommendation with regard to the cancellation of the audit. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second here. Mr. Ringo. Any other questions, comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That recommendation and that is approved unanimously. Action item 4E is consider workers' compensation settlement for T. Adams. Mr. King.
This settlement is cash that we are going to collect on a workers' comp claim, our right to their claim. The total amount of the claim was $325,000. Our portion of that was $100,000. The settle amount is $67,000, which is the amount deducted after deducting the normal attorney's fee. Since it is a reduction and since it is over $50,000, we thought the committee ought to consider it. So we're recommending accepting this settlement so that we can get this $67,000.
Questions? Any comments? I don't know that we're going to receive a lot of money, but in any event, motion? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Dr. Burns to approve the settlement.
Second.
Second by Mr. Buchanan. Any other questions? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously to approve the workers' compensation settlement. Final action item is action 4F. Consider approval of an interlocal agreement with Dallas ISD for police officer services. Mr. King.
Since we can no longer have a police department effective January 31st, all the police officers we employ will no longer be our employees, but we do still need about 3 officers one for this building and 2 to investigate accidents and ensure that our kids are safe during these accidents. So we're going to try to work in agreement with Dallas ISD to hire these 3 officers and perform this service. If they don't, then we'll just be without that service. But that's our recommendation, is to approve this interlocal agreement and then see if Dallas will approve it.
Okay, let me note for the members that Dr. Hinojosa has stepped away from the dais to recuse himself. Any questions with regard to this recommendation? Let me just say, oh, yes, Mr. Mansfield.
And Alan, terms to be negotiated, the blank, we've got the draft, it's got blanks for dollar amounts.
Dollar amounts.
To be determined.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, and obviously, we're grateful for all the districts that are represented here, and we're particularly grateful for Dallas ISD and efforts to work with us on this. Motion, is there a motion?
Move to approve as presented.
I'll get Bobby on the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bowles. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? All in favor? Oh, yes, go ahead, Celine.
Chair Moses, the remaining 14 will be picked up by other school districts, or what will happen to the remaining 14 officers, or is it?
They're going to be released by the district, and hopefully they'll get placed in the SRO programs at the other districts. They may or may not, but that's kind of why we've had this lag time. That's kind of why I've been working with everybody. They may or may not be picked up by the other districts with the SRO program, and that's how it is.
Okay.
We hope that they will be, and but I think good people will have the opportunity to work in good situations. Any other questions? Okay, we do have the motion and the second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion passes unanimously to consider approval of the interlocal agreement that I assume, Mr. King, you and others will negotiate.
Yes, sir.
Moving on to item 5, our discussion items. We have the claims settlement report to bring to your attention. Mr. King.
This is just a list of the claims that we've settled related to our auto policy from 11/30 to 12/6 that were less than $50,000 for your information. If you have any questions, staff's here to address them.
Did anyone see anything on that list on page 34 that you would like to have addressed, or you would like further amplification?
Just need bigger font, that's all.
Yeah.
Magnifying glass there.
Dr. Burns has got that pretty close.
No kidding. I'm going to start bringing my magnifying glass.
I'll give you another moment if you have a question or comment. If not, we'll, I think Mr. King's bringing that to our attention just for discussion, but also if you have a question or you need further information. Okay, I don't hear anything else with regard to that settlement report. I appreciate the efforts that Mr. King and staff have made with regard to that report and those settlement agreements. We now have item 6, 6A. We have an executive session to be held for purposes permitted by the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Section 551.001, including but not limited to Sections 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.072, real estate, or real property, 551.074, personnel matter, and we are moving into closed session at 10:17. Was Dr. Hinojosa going to return?
Yes,
There he
he's
is.
done.
He's back.
He's done.
We are back from executive session. The time is 11:34. We have heard an update from our attorney. We have no action relevant to executive session to take today. Members, I appreciate your time and your attendance. Are there any observations, comments? Anyone? Our next meeting, I believe, is scheduled for February the 8th, I hope I'm correct. Mr. City's looking at his calendar, is that correct? I'm sorry, January 22nd. I just went on through January. I was thinking about February. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. January 22nd at 10 a.m. will be our next meeting. I want to thank Mr. King, thank you again for your work, and Mr. Lopez, Mr. Thompson, thank you for your work. Hearing no other business, stand adjourned.